Hello, mathematician. Today we're going to use the F word. What word is that, you might be wondering? Well, that word is factoring, everybody's favorite F word. So today we're going to be factoring binomials, which means that there are two terms. So as we look at both the examples, we just have two terms that we're looking at. Prior knowledge for this lesson is to be able to find the greatest common factor of different terms. So here, if we had 6a squared, 9a, and 18, you need to know how to find the greatest common factor. So we look at the number part and the variable part separately. So our GCF here would be 3. If you have questions about that, there'll be another video that you can check out that focuses just on finding the greatest common factor. So once you know how to find the GCF, you're ready to use the greatest common factor to factor binomials. By the end of the video, you'll be able to solve a problem like this one here. So factoring 6x squared minus 16x. So taking a look at our first problem here, we have 15b squared minus 27b. So we'll need to figure out what the greatest common factor is, and we'll pull that out front, and then we'll have whatever's left over in parentheses that comes after it. So looking at 15 and 27, the biggest number that goes into both of those is 3. And then we need to be thinking, okay, well, what about the variable piece? So we've got b squared and we've got b. So the most we can take out is just 1b. So it's always going to be your smaller exponent. So then inside the parentheses is what's left. So we ask ourselves 3b times what would give me 15b squared. So 3 times 5 would give me 15. And I need b times b to give me 15b squared. So that's that first piece. And then the second piece, the minus 27b, that's going to be 3 times negative 9. And then here, since we already have the b, we're all set. So that right there is our final answer in factored form. So 3b times the quantity, 5b minus 9. Now, if you prefer the box method, or if you have a hard time figuring out what should go in the parentheses, you might find the box to be helpful. So what you would do if you're using the box method is you'd start by just copying the problem in the box. So you'd have 15b squared minus 27b. If you saw my video about using the box method to multiply, this is basically undoing multiplication or factoring. So the rest of it looks very similar to that last part. So our greatest common factor goes out front here. So that's just our GCF. And then across the top, we'll write what's left. And for some people, it's just easier to visualize it using the boxes. So we have same thing, 3 times 5 to get me to 15, and b times b to get b squared. And then 3 we'll need to multiply by negative 9 to get negative 27b. So you'll see that this part across the top, the 5b minus 9, is the same thing we got using the traditional method. So let's take a look at one more just to make sure we've got it. So for example 2, we have 14x cubed plus 28x squared. So the first part is figuring out what number goes into both 14 and 28. And we want to make sure we choose the greatest common factor. So here, you might think, oh, 7 goes into both of them, which it does, but 14 actually goes into both of them. So we're going to go ahead and factor out of 14. And then we've got x cubed and we've got x squared. So we're going to be able to pull out 2 x's. So x squared is what we can pull out front because it's always going to be whichever one's smaller. So we have 14x squared, and then inside we're going to write what's left over. So for this 14x cubed term, we need 14x squared times something to equal 14x cubed. So all we need there is an x. And then for the 28x squared, and it is positive, so, well, 14 goes into 28 2 times. And I already have my x squared, so that's all we're going to have in parentheses is just x plus 2. And again, that's our final answer. One way to know that you're finished is that there are no common factors with whatever you're left with. If we had ended up with 4x plus 2, then we'd be able to still factor it a little bit further. So let's take a look at what that would look like in the boxes. So we copy the original problem, and then we're essentially just undoing it when we factor it, undoing the multiplication. So our greatest common factor, we write out the 14x squared. And then we know that 14x squared times x will give us 14x cubed. And then we know that 14x squared times positive 2 equals 28x squared. So that's how to do that. And I'm just going to make a note here about how we know we're finished. We're finished when the parentheses factor has, so when the parentheses part has no common factors. And of course we need nothing other than 1. So x plus 2, we knew we were done, and then the previous one, 5b minus 9, well, there's nothing other than 1 that goes into 5 and 9. So that is how to factor binomials. If you have a question, make sure that you write it right down there. And also make sure you subscribe to Summit Learning's YouTube channel so that you know when new videos are coming out. And also check out our website, summitlearning.com. Thanks.